Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Backman Report. We come to you live every week and checking on the world of golf to bring you the latest news, insights, analysis, interviews, recaps, previews. Hey, we cover anything and everything golf. In other words, if it happened in golf, hey, we have it for you. My name is Carlos Torres. Every week, I'm alongside my co-host Fred Altvater. Fred, hi, how are you this week?
Hey, Carlos, what in the wide world of sports is going on here? We got politics, we got storm in the Capitol, we got impeachment hearings, we got, oh my goodness, what all we got going on. And it's football season. You can't believe how much football I have watched in the last few weeks. The grandson, his high school football team just qualified. They won the region, so they're now in the semifinals for the state championship. So that's big. We got the Browns winning on Sunday. That was big over the hated Steelers. The Buckeyes were in the final in the championship game. They got blown away, but you know what? They beat Clemson. I don't care. Alabama. Hey, here's a news flash for you, Carlos. Alabama is really good. There's no question about it, man. They are something else. The Browns are going to be playing the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes this weekend. They'll probably get killed, but that's all right. They won a game. They're in the division, deal. That's outstanding. Watched a lot of football, talked a lot of football, but I did manage to watch a little golf from Hawaii. Palm trees swaying, blue Pacific Ocean, sunshine. Looked a lot like paradise to me, Carlos. Wish I was there. You know what? Harris English won in a playoff. Michael Whan is stepping down. Justin Thomas is going to get fined for saying some naughty stuff on TV. Trump gave the medal of freedom to 3 golfers. Loses a major, sticks his foot in his mouth, all kinds of stuff. We got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, Carlos. We got this new format. I may get lost. You may have to figure out where I'm at, but we're here.
We'll see. We'll see. We made a few changes that we hopefully you guys will enjoy, guys and girls. So let me be politically correct, right? But anyway, Fred, talking a little bit about that football thing. Um, the Browns, what was that? I mean, they jumped in 28
28
points.
nothing. 28 nothing.
It was like, who are these guys? I mean, I couldn't even believe it. First time since 1994 they won a playoff game, and first at visiting since 1968. So it's like I can't believe it.
You know who the coach was when they won their last playoff game, right?
Don't tell me it was Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick.
Yeah,
Bill Belichick. Yeah.
he was. He was. So, but anyway, now Kevin Stefanski was not even there.
No.
He was with COVID. Maybe he should stay back outside. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I know. Who needs a coach? Who needs a
Who
practice?
who
No
needs it?
practice one day.
They played so well after that.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
They played the Steelers the week before, albeit without about 5 key Steeler players, and they beat them. The odds of coming back and beating them, you know what? I think that week off that the key players for Pittsburgh took off, I think that hurt them. They were slow coming out. I mean, 3 turnovers, boom, 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 right off the bat. And I think it was, what was it? 14 seconds went off the clock, and Cleveland was already up 7-0. I mean, that's just that. And believe me, Carlos, every Cleveland Browns fan in the world was sitting there when it's 28-0 in the first quarter going, they can't blow this, can they? How are they going to figure out how to lose this? Because nobody, I don't care how long of a Browns fan you've been, you just knew they were going to figure out a way that Pittsburgh was going to make it close by the end of the game. And Cleveland, to their credit, they did a really good job keeping it in a 1 or 2 touchdown game pretty much the whole thing. So 12 points, it was good. It was a lot of fun to watch. I know that.
No, they definitely did. And the funny thing is that I was just listening to the radio afterwards, the guys in the radio, and the caller commentator, when that fumble went over the Big Ben's head, and then they score, and the commentator was yeah, but then that was the play by play. But the caller commentator was, well, that's a good start. It's like, well, that's a good start. But so cool, calm, collected. It's like, yeah, they'll blow it. That's just
Everybody,
how
everybody's
it-
they'll figure out a way to lose this thing for sure.
yeah, but anyway, now let's get to what we do here every week.
We're gonna
And
talk golf. We're gonna talk some golf.
let's talk about some golf, and let's
All right.
get now what we're calling the backspin, which is the recaps, because we were right now in the practice range doing the intro and talking a little bit about the things off golf. Now let's get to golf. Now we're going to be doing some backspin, recapping what happened this past weekend. And this past weekend, there was just one tournament that we can talk about. That was the Tournament of Champions, different format. There were, because of the COVID, we had to put everybody that was also on the FedEx Cup playoffs, not only the winners from last year, so that they could have a lot of players. There were 42 record number, but at the end, it was just an end like last year. Last year, there was a three-way playoff. This time, it was a two-way playoff, and it was Harris English. And we were just talking about this guy just a little bit last weekend, Joaquin Niemann, when we talked about the youngsters that you have to look for, and he almost pulled it off. I mean, he was up there. Harris English tied him in the last hole to go into the playoff, and eventually he took him down for his third PGA Tour title and the first in more than 7 years. Now, English, he entered that final round tied for the lead, and birdies there at 11, 12, 13, and 15 catapulted him back into the lead after a level par front 9. He birdied 18 hole to tie Niemann at 25. I bet Joaquin was like, I almost had this one. But Niemann could only par the 18, both in regulation and in the playoff, with English birding for the victory both times. So English, Fred now moves from 29th in the world up to a career high 17th. He's really playing really, really good. And now it's his second time in a month that he wins, because this was after a victory at the QBE shootout with Matt Kuchar pre-Christmas, which they won for the third time. So how about Harris English and Joaquin Niemann before we keep moving forward?
Yeah, he credited that win at the QBE for kind of reconfirming, exactly what he's been doing and how he's been playing, and it helped free him up a little bit. We talk a lot about confidence on this show, but that is what it ultimately boiled down to. Golf can be a very cruel game. A wild drive out of bounds, a pulled iron over the green, a missed 5-foot putt can send any golfer over the edge and begin to doubt every shot. For a professional, that is absolute death. English had gotten into that place. He even failed to regain his card via the Korn Ferry Tour Finals, was reaching the abyss. His coach got him turned around, is now on the right track, enjoying the competition and confident in his ability to hang with the best players in the world. It's all about that confidence and being comfortable and not worrying about missing that 5-footer or pulling that iron over the green, knowing that, hey, I've got this shot to get it back on there. That's exactly what Joaquin Niemann was doing on Sunday. He didn't care where he was just swinging full, and wherever it went, he knew he had a shot to put it back, to get it back in play. I mean, he was amazing to watch on Sunday. A lot of fun. Getting back to English, he never fell out of the top 30 last year. He may be right now. I mean, if he keeps going, he's going to work his way into the top 10 on the official world golf ranking for sure. He's been playing really well over the whole last year. I do have a question for you. When Niemann got done, I mean, he was about 4 or 5 groups ahead of the English group, and you saw he went in and sat down with his girlfriend and Sergio and his wife, and they sat there, had some chips, some snacks, drank some water and stuff, just sat there and relaxed. Didn't really go to the range at all. Finally, his caddy came and grabbed him when English was hitting his second shot on 18. Caddy finally says, come on, let's go over to the green and putt some. And so he went over and putted a few, and then he jumped back out on the course and started playing again. I think he should have been over the range hitting some balls and staying kind of in game mode. What do you think?
Totally agree, and I think that was the key maybe for him. Harris had just come out of birding that 18, and he was just too relaxing. And I would say I think he learned from this one. I wouldn't expect him to be doing the same thing again, but I think he just thought he had it. But he had to wait. Harris English was playing really, really well. He had birdie at 11, 12, 13, and the 15, and he had taken the lead. It was after that that Joaquin past him. But definitely, I have to agree. I think that was a mistake from him. He should have stayed
I'm
warm.
surprised Sergio didn't tell him something.
I don't know. The reality is that he should have been. Maybe Sergio. I mean, Sergio had finished a long time before. He
They
finished.
were together,
Yeah,
Sergio
but
and
the thing
Joaquin.
is that he didn't at the time. I don't think he realized where maybe Joaquin was. Okay, so to me it was not excusable for him. I think he'll learn, and maybe next time he'll be there. Like you said, the caddy was the one to pull him there. Hey, you better get going because there's somebody here that is gonna take you. And
You heard John Wood saying that on the course. You know, they were talking about that. That Joaquin was sitting there relaxing, and John Wood, you know, who used to caddy for Kuchar, they were asking him, said, "Well, would you, you know, what would you be telling your guy?" And he said, "No," he said, "I'd be grabbing him. I'd be getting a cart and grabbing him. We'd be going to the range. Say, come on, let's hit some balls and stay loose here, bro." Yeah, and yeah, and so really surprised. I got another question for you, Carlos. So this expanded field this time with everyone that made the tour championship. You know, we didn't have enough tournaments last year, so they needed some more guys. So what was there, 14 or 15 guys that made the tour championship that didn't have a win last year? They were exempted into this field. Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think they should maybe do that and now maybe bump this up to maybe 60 guys or something, and not just have like the 40 or so that they have? Do you like that, or what do you think, or should it just be for the winners?
to me, it would lose the Tournament of Champions feeling, right? Because that it's either you change the name and make it as something different. I understand this year that why they did it because of course there was a lot, very small pool of winners from the year before, but I don't think I wouldn't like it unless you change the name because that's why it's a tournament of champions. This is the exhibition we're giving to the champs. You go to Hawaii with your family. You spend that first weekend of January as a prize for winning a tournament the year before. So that's like a great opening. The real opening of the season of 20 of the year is coming up now at the Sony Open. But I wouldn't. To me, I don't know. I'm classic, old fashioned, whatever you want to call it. But I like a tournament of champions the way it is.
You know, in the past, you know, I've been critical of this event. I've been critical of the way that the PGA Tour begins the year. NASCAR, they begin the year with the biggest race of the year, right? Daytona 500. Man, they make a big splash in February to really get the season going off. Um, with golf, it always seems like they just kind of now with the wraparound schedule and they hit January 1st, and it's just kind of it used to be like a big deal. It's nothing. It's just another tournament. So, and guys didn't even want to come over here to play. Tiger hardly ever came over. Phil didn't come over much. A lot of guys would skip this thing because they didn't want to come all the way to Hawaii. They wanted to spend another couple more weeks at home before they started their season out on the West Coast. Now, guys seem to be coming. There's only like two guys that didn't come, and those are both Europeans, Rory and Tyrell Hatton, and they're both going to start at Abu Dhabi. I'm sure they're getting a big appearance fee and works out good for them. But guys seem to want to come and play in this now. I mean, we had Dustin Johnson, we had John Rahm, we had Justin Thomas, we had the big names there. So it was kind of cool to start the year out with this thing, don't you think?
It was, and definitely surprising that that is happening. Like you're saying before, they would used to skip all that. Now, to put into that position, what would you do to start with a big bang? Would you do the Players Championship? The Masters, you're not going to make it because there's just no way they're going to move it. But what are you going to move to make it start with a bang? You can't move any of the other four majors because the British Open is going to happen at the time that it is the PGA Championship. I don't know. But the thing is how you sell it to the players to start getting ready during December, which is normally their month off, to start getting ready and be
Especially now with the
family and all
wraparound,
that.
especially now with the wraparound schedule, because even the big guys now are playing a couple events in the fall to get some FedEx Cup points going into the year.
Yeah, but it's interesting. It's an interesting point. But at the same time, now that you mention it's a wraparound season, so the season already started before. So it's not like the season starting like the European tour that starts at the beginning of the year. So now it's a wraparound. So you have to really get going before that. So it's a lot of moving parts, but it would be good to start the year, like you're saying, with a bang. I really like that idea. Maybe the Players Championship, go do it somewhere. I mean, Florida, yeah, it's pretty warm at this time. It's not going to be snowing, so
Sometimes,
they can do it.
sometimes it can get, especially in Jacksonville, it can get a little cool at Jacksonville in January. So that may not work. I don't know. But it should be big enough. You're in Hawaii. But my point was that with the big names there now, this is a little bit bigger deal. Where before the guys wouldn't even go over there. They were hurting to get a field, a quality field. And now the guys seem to want to do it. So as long as that happens and you get the Dustin Johnsons, the Justin Thomases, and the John Rahms, and the top 8 players in the world with wins, then you got something.
It's an invitational, right? So why not invite maybe the last 2 years champions plus the top 10 in the world? That way you'll make it ramp up the price money, and maybe hey, you're gonna have a real tournament of champions because you're talking about the past 2 years champions plus the top 10, which aren't really
Make it a
champions.
$10
So
million deal.
yeah, you can make it, and it would be a big bang to start the year. But you know what a big bang has been also? The start of the year for Justin Thomas, the defending champion. And I really feel bad, but let's talk a little bit about that. He was the defending champion. During the third round on Saturday there at Kapalua, he was facing a 4-foot putt on par on the fourth hole, but he missed it slightly to the right. He then walked past the hole, and just before tapping in for bogey, we got this hot mics now, right? So he can be heard on the network's microphones uttering the homophobic epithet that starts with an F. We're not gonna say which one. You all know which one. You already have seen it in the YouTube. If you haven't seen it, go and find out. But after his round, he was interviewed live on Golf Channel by Todd Smith, and as you can imagine, he was very embarrassed. He was very apologetic about the whole thing. I don't think he knew what else to say I'm sorry. And of course, as you can imagine, social media burned him up, on fire about this and what should happen to JT. Now let's remember that PGA Tour veteran Scott Piercy has already lost two sponsors, two sponsors to 10 months ago, and they were major because of two comments he made on Instagram. One was a homophobic slur, and the other one was referring to QAnon. Also, at the WGC HSBC event in China in 2014, you might remember Patrick Reed also said the same word that Justin Thomas said on camera. Uh, Fred, what's your take on this before I?
Well, I don't really think anything's going to happen to Justin. I don't think there's going to be a fallout from it. Number one, he did a really good job handling it. He apologized. He said, you know what, this isn't me. I know better than that. I made a mental slip. I'm sorry. I don't feel any, I'm not that way. And this should not have happened. I'll try and be better in the future. He took ownership of it. I think it'll be fine. Second thing is, like you said, we got these hot mics. We have no fans there. We have no ambient noise. So everything gets picked up. And even if you notice, the announcing team now are being silent so they can hear the conversations, especially between caddy and player. And so they're trying to get that moment of noise, of what the players are saying. And so these guys have to be real careful. I mean, you do it. I've done it. When you miss a putt or you hit a dumb shot, it just slips out, right? You're on the golf course. You're out and, you're out there. You're away from people. It's okay. But no, they're on TV and the mics are right there. So they got to be real careful. But Carlos, bottom line, he's going to get fined by the tour for sure. I don't think he's going to have any fallout. He's too good of a guy. He's very well liked. He's a nice guy. Nobody ever says a bad thing about Justin Thomas. This was just one of those things. I think it's going to all go out in the wash.
I really hope that what really ticks me off is that immediately people start putting labels
Yep.
on someone that just made a mistake. And
Yep.
that's what it was, especially with someone like Justin Thomas. You don't know the guy. And everybody now just listens to whatever he said, and now they are, punishing him. Oh, you have to find him, just suspend him. He has to be out. Come on, like nobody has ever said anything bad about anybody. And yeah, I understand you shouldn't be doing it. Yes, but he owned up to it. Like you're saying that he did it immediately. He apologized, and that's the ones who know Justin Thomas, and especially us that we follow golf on a weekly basis. We know that's not Justin Thomas. He like he said, and I truly believe him. He had a ton of things in his mind. He's trying to win a tournament. He's not playing well. He did a very bad mistake there, and who knows? He might have said another word, even worse. And it happens. It happens. But JT definitely, yes, he's gonna get fined. But stop labeling people because you are being worse by doing that. Okay, you cannot be judging anybody because you better judge yourself first before judging somebody else. And it's so easy now in social media for anybody to be behind their computer and just say something. This has to stop at some point too. It won't, but it has to stop.
People jump on social media and just fire off this stuff. It's out of control. Somebody's got to say stop, just stop. It's okay. Everything doesn't have to be a major issue. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame. But anyway, other players there. Justin finished solo third. Ryan Palmer was solo fourth. Sung J M, another of the youngsters that we talked about, he was there tied for fifth with Sander Schauffele, who was in a playoff last year. Bryson, I know you want to say something. He was there T7 also with your guy, Colin Morikawa, and John Ram, who really played well. I mean, 70 to start, then 66, 69, 67. So it seems like the Callaway golf clubs are playing well for him. He was really close, 20 under, all those tied for 7. So how about those players?
He didn't putt well. Rom did not.
Well, remember, the putter is the one that he still doesn't have. He had the rest of them, but the putter is the one he still doesn't have from Callaway. So we'll see what happens there when he finally gets it.
A lot of grain. There's a lot of grain in those greens. They have them a little bit longer. It's a resort course. It's not, the pros don't play there all the time. And so it's a resort course. And plus, there's so much hills there. If they had those greens real fast, they'd roll off the green with the winds that they have there. So they can't have them real fast like they would have at a normal tournament. So when they were back uphill or into the grain, 95% of the time, they would leave it short. Almost every time they would leave it short. So they were having a lot of trouble getting their speeds right. But I gotta say, did you see the interview with Bryson after the first round? Overwork your CNS, getting your ball speed over 200 miles per hour. He says he swings so hard he almost blacks out. I have no idea what that's like. I've never done anything like that, so I don't know. Through the speed training he's doing, he's added more club head speed and ball speed, longer carry. He was talking about working with a former long drive champion and increasing his endorphins, okay, and central nervous system, so he can get all hyped up and get quick neural responses and quicker reactions, and to set a new standard for his body to react to get all this stuff going. We've had Tiger talking about getting his glutes activated, and we've seen the workout that Miguel Angel Jimenez does to get loosened up, right? This is something entirely new. Just Bryson, he just never fails to amaze. He's got to overwork his CNS. So have you been overworking your CNS, Carlos?
Working in technology, CNS is a different thing for me. So if I work that out, I will be in problems. But I just can't. Never you will be that way. I will be that way. So it's not happening. I mean, there's no way I will activate my glutes. There's no way I'll improve my CNS. I mean, he says that he almost passes out, right? I, I don't know. That's dangerous.
The only thing I pass out from is not enough sugar. I get a little weak sometimes. I got to grab a candy bar, but other than that, I'm good.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I wouldn't do anything of that. But hey, that's Bryson there for you, the mad scientist on golf. And with that, we'll wrap up our backspin or recaps. There was just one, but we had to talk a lot about it. So that's why we expanded it for you. Now let's get on the course, Fred, and let's talk about the big news that we have for you. And we're going to have all the news for you now on the course. And that means that we're going to start with the big one right away. And that is the moment is here that we dreaded so much. I mean, less than a month after completing that Herculean task of putting together a robust 2021 LPGA schedule, the day has come when LPGA Commissioner Michael Whan announced that he's going to leave the tour in 2021. I mean, I could feel the the sky getting dark as he was saying that. I was in denial that that would ever happen. But anyway, he shared the news on Wednesday with his staff, members, and sponsors via letter. He was saying that he would never leave the LPGA if the future was uncertain or if momentum wasn't trending in the right direction. Michael, he will turn 56 in February next month, and he completed his 11th year with the LPGA, which makes him the longest tenure of any commissioner. Now, he hasn't set an exact date for his departure yet, but let's put a little bit into focus. The tour had only 24 tournaments and an official prize money of $41.4 million when he took over. This schedule this year, while in the midst of a global pandemic, has a record $76.45 million and 34 official events, 10 more. Now, his decision to embrace the global nature of the tour and his act like a founder mantra for both staff and players helped bring the tour out of a downward spiral. He also made it a point to put the check writers first, a tactic that served the tour especially well last year. And we talked about it when you interviewed him, when strong relationships were kept intact just by the way that he approached it. Okay, and it was a triumph that season, absolute triumph, with only 42 positive COVID tests out of 7,200 that they give, and every sponsor returning to the table this year, all of them returned. So when he said, he woke up on Tuesday morning feeling really nervous for the first time in 4 years, and he said, "This feels great." But it marks the third time he has left a really good job without another one line up. And at a family meeting that he had, one of his sons noted that while it has worked before, he said, Dad, you're beginning to push your luck, so watch out. But anyway, he says he doesn't answer recruiter calls when he's working, and he prefers to give 100% up to the task at hand, make a full stop to his mind, and look for the next opportunity. That is an unconventional approach that so far has served him well. And I know, Fred, that you have always said that it will be a big company that will pull him. But they ask him directly, "Hey, there's an opening at the USGA." Mike Davis announced that he'll be stepping down from his role as the CEO at the end of 2021. And then he said, and I'm going to quote him here, "It's certainly premature. I think for any job, I'm finishing now. I think for any job that one certainly included requires a cleanse of my brain, requires both parties to think it's a good idea. I feel there will be opportunities. Probably there will be opportunities in golf, and I certainly think there will be opportunities in sport that are worth a solid look on both sides." So, Fred, his innovations, the International Crown, the race to the CME, Globe, the Founders Cup, partnership with the Ladies European Tour, those are impressive areas as of growth. not only in the schedule but in the TV viewership too. And I think, Fred, I mean, the women's game, top to bottom, has never been stronger. And whoever comes in will have very, very big shoes to fill. But to me, it's like these actors, like let's say Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. I cannot see anybody else doing that. Okay, I can't see who is going to come and do Michael Whan's job. That it was like he is the commissioner of the LPGA, and I can't see anybody else doing it.
Yeah, you talk about big shoes to fill. Those are impossible shoes to fill. He took the LPGA tour. It was on the way out. They were, I mean, they were broke. They were going out. And the meeting was held in Toledo, Carlos. The ladies got together right before the Wednesday night before the Now Marathon Classic. Back then it was the Jamie Farr. They got together at the upstairs room at Mancy's over dinner, and the decision was made that Carolyn Blevins had to go, and they were going to look for a new commissioner. And Michael had gone to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. He'd gone to work for Procter & Gamble, had risen up the ranks there, was a rapid riser there on the fast track, and he ended up taking the job. And so the LPGA was really in bad shape when he came in, really in bad shape. And years ago when I had the interview with Carolyn Mann, and she was telling me about the first time she met Michael Whan. He came into a meeting of the players in California. He took his coat off, he rolled his sleeves up, and he said, he didn't start talking about his ideas or what he wanted to do. He said, how can I help you? What can I do to make things better for the players, for you? And that was his whole idea right there. That's what he did. Every decision that he made in 11 years was with the players' best interest as a collective group at the forefront. And he just did a fantastic job of it. Carlos, you mentioned some of the issues that, that were there. There were too many tournaments outside the United States. He turned that around and said, we're a world tour. There were too many international players that won. We're a world tour. We get the best players from every country in the world winning our tournaments. We're a world tour. International players couldn't speak English. He promoted that all the players learn English. And you saw it in a very short time, about 2 years after he came in, the international players, you didn't have to have those interpreters anymore. Only once in a while do you have an interpreter now, and that's really just one of the young ladies that have come over and is in her very early career here in the United States. Once they're here for about 6 months or a year, they learn enough English that they don't have to use the interpreters. Just so many things, and he turned them into positives. He hired a good team. He let them do their job. He's been a wonderful, wonderful commissioner, the best sports administrator in the country. We've said that many, many times. And on a personal note, I want to thank Commissioner Whan for being so forthright, outgoing, and always available to chat. He's the most personable and knowledgeable sports executive I've ever had the pleasure to be associated, and he will sorely be missed. And we want to wish him continued success in whatever endeavor. And Carlos, I just want one more comment before I turn it back to you. You mentioned the USGA job. Oh my goodness, would I love to see that. Holy moly, he would turn that crusty old dust bucket upside down. That would be unbelievable to see. But that's exactly what the USGA needs. I don't see that ever happening. But I mean, it's possible, but I would say that's probably not going to happen because he would shake that group up for sure. I really think either some startup company that looks like they have a tremendous growth potential, or some Fortune 500 company will come with a $20 million compensation package, stock options, bonuses, private jet, all that stuff, because he's just too good. He's one of the best executive minds in the country he deserves that kind of a position. So we'll watch. We'll see what he's doing. But he's been a joy. He's been a pleasure to have.
I wouldn't say no to the USGA.
Oh, what a
Everywhere he's been, it's been a challenge
oh
that he
man.
has taken over, and I know you would love that. That's why I mentioned it.
Oh yeah.
So, if I wouldn't disqualify that, remember, read through what he said. It's just that it were anything that he's going to do, it will require a cleanse of his brain. So it means he's going to have a new ideas, new focus, new north wherever he's going to do, and it requires both parties to think it's a good idea. So now, everybody that's going to pursue him is going to think it's a good idea that he's there. Now, what he thinks is a good idea, will he just take something easy, or like he did with the LPGA, will he see it as a challenge to make it better? And if he would go to the USGA, I have to agree. I mean, that would be like, wow, bonanza there for the
That
USGA.
would be
It's
a
like
shocker.
we will stop criticizing it forever. There's not gonna be any more criticism about it, but definitely, Commissioner Whan, thank you for all that you have done. You have set an example of what a sports administrator is. You have, commissioner is a
You give
word
me
that is
You give
below
me
you.
something to
You're
check
just
out
way
now, Carl.
above that.
I'm gonna call my sources. I'm gonna pull in all my sources. I'm gonna find out about this. That you really you got my mind going now, Carlos. That would be really something.
You will see. We'll see. I don't know. If it happens, it was here, January 12th, 2021. We mentioned it first. But anyway, Commissioner Juan, thank you so much. And hopefully we can talk one more time and, before you part ways with the LPGA, and maybe we can pick your mind about the USGA and somebody else and some other opportunities. We'll see. But anyway, Fred, at 10:01 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday night, the PGA of America made the announcement that the 2022 PGA Championship would no longer be hosted at Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. Now, the late night news came just days after a mob of President Donald Trump supporters clashed with police, broke into the United States Capitol, and swept through the halls of Congress, ultimately leading to the deaths of 5 people, including a Capitol police officer. Very bad events, turn of events. And then on Monday, the RNA announced that it said it had no plans to host the British Open at Trump Turnberry in Scotland, which another hit for President Trump and his clubs. Okay, now there's something. It's kind of funny within this. I know it's not a great thing anyway, but as the world is starting to seem to be distancing itself from the outgoing president, one PGA Tour player has a plan for Trump to fight back. And I'm going to read it to you. He tweeted saying, "Hey, POTUS, you should just host a tournament the same week as the 2022 PGA Championship at your course. Put up a huge purse that players can't turn down, make the PGA Championship a weak field, or force them to up their purse and cost them more money." That was Grayson Murray. And as you can imagine, after the backlash he received, he deleted his Twitter account after sending that tweet. Fred, uh, your take on this?
Well, you Donald finally did something that just no one can say, oh, it's just Donald. It's that was too far over the top, dragging this whole election thing out the way he did. It's just irresponsible. He knows how much press and how much feelings he can stir up being the president. He can stir a lot of people up, and you have to be careful with that. Carlos, you know that you can use it for good, you can use it for bad, and anything that the president of the United States gives his attention to, then it becomes a big deal. Okay, he knows he can't do stuff like that, and he does it anyhow. Just like being on Twitter. all the comments and all the Twitter stuff he did, if he would have stayed off Twitter, he would have gotten along so much better and just kept his mouth shut a little bit and did his job. But he just can't do it. He has no emotional control, it seems. And so this was just too far over the top. People just can't abide with it. Even his most staunch followers, from what I'm told, Michael Pence read him a riot act. And, and Pence has been a loyal supporter, done all the dirty work, done all the stuff, put up with all of Donald's shenanigans and all that stuff. And finally, Pence just told him, this is it. You're done. This is it. And so I looked, and the Congress, they want to make Trump look so bad in any way, shape, or form. I wouldn't be surprised they do the impeachment and Pence ends up being the president for a couple of days until Biden gets sworn in here in a week or two. They're at the end of the term. What's going to happen? They control both houses. I don't know why they're making a big deal about it, but they are. It gives them something to talk about. But let's get back to golf. Anyhow, so with all that going on, the PGA, the RNA, they had to do this. I understand it. I don't like it. I'm sure the PGA hates it because they were set up. Betsmeretzer's right outside of New York. They want to be in that New York market. They like going to Bethpage Black. They like being in all those courses around New York because of all the big market there in the East Coast, and so it hurts them financially. I'll give you an inside track. I had somebody tell me that Southern Hills has the inside track on this. It won't be announced until after the inauguration, but Southern Hills is supposed to get the bid for the PGA Championship that's coming up. So yeah, it's just it's unfortunate. These are the times we live in. I think like everything else in media, I think it's being overblown. But this is what we got, and unfortunate for Donald Trump because if people could think back, he was a big supporter for golf when nobody else was. He pumped a lot of money into golfers' pockets and put a lot of money into golf in the golf industry back when nobody else was doing it in the 80s and the 90s and back even in the early 2000s. And so it's unfortunate. But Donald, he kind of made his own bed. Now he's got to lie in it.
Yeah, it's really tough. This is something he cannot run away from. And of course, now that it happened, everybody's just gonna keep pounding at it. That this is like sharks seeing blood in the water. Okay, yeah, and unfortunately for him, uh, again, I'm not gonna defend him, but trying to be partial, that's what happens when you, like you said, he stretched this too much. I think he never stopped campaigning, unfortunately, and he never left the TV personality person out of this, which is what I think did him. He always was putting on the show, for good or for bad. He made some bad decisions there, and now it's just coming back to haunt him. But anyway, we're not politicians. We're golf journalists, commentators, and that's what we're going to keep talking about. But we have to talk about him a little bit more, just at least one more, because while he has lost a major a day after his supporters rioted inside the U.S. Capitol, he turned his attention to golf. Like you're saying, he's always supported golf. And on Thursday, he awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to retired professional golfers Annika Sorenstam and Gary Player, and posthumously to Babe Didrikson Zaharias, who died in 1956. Now, those three recipients will join Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, Charlie Sifford, and Tiger Woods as the only golfers to receive the award, and this is according to NBC's Golf Channel, which first reported Thursday's award ceremony. Now, if you don't know, the Presidential Medal of Freedom is the nation's highest civilian honor. It recognizes individuals who have made a especially meritorious contribution to the security or national interest of the United States, world peace, cultural, or other significant public or private endeavors. So, Fred, it is the ultimate honor that you can receive here in the States. Still, we see the pushback right now that Bill Belichick is receiving to not accept it, right? So the question I have for you is, after all these, I mean, does it change the recognition, the events that transpired at the Capitol and the alleged involvement of the president on it for you enough not to receive it? Okay. Does it change really that thought?
Yeah, it's the president that's giving this out, right? And so we didn't even know anything about the presidential medal of freedom. Bush used it quite a bit. Obama followed up using it, and now Trump has used it quite a bit. And it's just, it's a way to get some positive press and bring some top level sports people, or top level, not just sports people, but top level celebrities or inventors or any kind of a person that's given a great boost to the American society. I'm not sure. My questions really are. Annika is not an American citizen, I don't believe. She's from Sweden. I don't think she's ever taken American citizenship. I know Gary Player is not. He's from South Africa. I don't know what Gary Player has ever done to really help the United States winning golf tournaments. I don't know how that does anything, but he's all big on fitness, so maybe that's helped something. Annika, through her foundation stuff, I kind of understand a little bit, what she's done and what she's doing. But Gary Player, I don't know. I don't. Yeah, you had Jack and you had Arnold. So I guess if you got those two, you got to have Gary too. I don't know. But I don't know. Yeah, as far as cheaping it, I think it has gotten of less value. Will a new president, will it become a big deal again? I think it'll take a few years. I really believe that. And Bill Belichick, like you said, just said, nah, thanks, but no thanks. I don't have time for that. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's all tied up in the whole Trump thing. And it's just this politics thing seems like we turned this into a political show. So didn't really mean to do that, but it's just the whole big thing is unfortunate. So I don't know how else to say it than that, Carlos.
Yeah. By the way, yes, Annika is dual citizenship, but Gary's not.
Okay.
But it raises the question. Of course, all three have been not Babe because she's deceased, but Gary Player and Annika have received, of course, social media again publicity negative because they should have not have accepted. There's one person I don't care, Mark Player, Gary's son. Of course, he's gonna criticize Gary, and he should have never gotten that. Uh, but yeah, why? Why? I may see why Annika, because after her career, she has dedicated a lot of things here in the States, where she lives in her foundation, and she's done a lot of things to promote the sport and using her stature in golf to do that. So I can see her. Babe, of course, I mean, she was a pioneer and a trendsetter, and there was nobody like her to her achievements. Gary, well, maybe again, I'm trying to think how can you relate it to it, right? I can see Jack, I can see Arnold, I can see Tiger. They're definitely ones of a kind. Gary was the first non-American to win the majors, right? But I don't see how again, yeah, I can't think for it of why he would deserve it. Maybe Annika, I can see it. Babe, definitely, but not Gary. And like you're saying, anyway, now this is a politic thing. It's a president's prerogative to give it. And that's, I think, why they didn't take some exemption into it, right? And you can make a case, like you were saying, why this three people. But again, it's just part of all this stuff that is happening. And I don't think it'll stop. I mean, they will continue to try to find every little itsy bitty thing to criticize anything that the president does forever until he dies. So anyway, anything you want to add to that before we close and move to the next one?
Let's talk about something else.
All right. I know you like this one. I know you do. I know you do because the 2021 Masters is back. It's back.
I'm hoping I can get my press pass.
Well, we'll see, but at least there's some silver lining because it will have limited fans this spring. Fred Riley, who's the chairman of the Augusta National Club, he announced that this year's Masters, which is scheduled April 5 to 11, will have similar health and safety standards to those previously instituted in November 2020. But it was also announced that the Augusta National Women's Amateur and the Drive, Chip, and Putt National Finals are both scheduled to return with limited patrons. So, Fred, Augusta National is now in the process of communicating with all the ticket holders of record, and refunds will be issued to those patrons not selected to attend. I'm sure you will be selected. So, those are some encouraging news that we're seeing at least some fans returning at golf's biggest major.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody too in Florida today, and the Honda Classic is going to have some fans as well in Florida. So they're starting to open some of these back up a little bit. They're limited, and Fred Ridley said they would be limited. So if they normally let out 20,000, I'm guessing they'll probably only have about 5,000 at the most, probably. Maybe not even that many, but 25% probably. He said, following the successful conduct of the Masters tournament last November with only essential personnel, we are confident in our ability to responsibly invite a limited number of patrons to Augusta National in April. And he also said, as with the November Masters, we will implement practices and policies that will protect the health and safety of everyone in attendance. Nothing is or will be more important than the well-being of all patrons. We were disappointed that we are unable to accommodate a full complement this year. We will continue our efforts to ensure that all who purchase tickets from Augusta National have access in 2022 and provided conditions improve. So, and then the other big part of this, Carlos, like you said, they are also going to have the Augusta National Women's Amateur, and they're also going to have the Drive, Chip, and Putt that's on Sunday before. Of course, Anwa, they play the other course on 2 days, and they play a practice round, and then they play the final round on Saturday. That's great that they're going to do all that stuff, and it's just kind of the light at the end of the tunnel, right? Baseball announced today they're going to have a 162 game season. Spring training camps are going to open on time. Football made it through. Basketball is having some issues, both pro and college, but they're going to work that out. I'm pretty confident. So we're getting on the back side of this thing. The vaccines are being issued. It's just, we got to get through our life, Carlos. We got to move on. And this is one good sign that the Masters is going to start to have fans back.
Definitely a silver lining there. And while one tournament is seeing limited patrons or fans, COVID-19 continues to wreak havoc with the sports calendar. And while the show will go on at the American Express next week, it will do so without the celebrities in the Pro-Am format that has been a staple right now since the tournament, and the tournament since its debut in 1960. As a result, this tournament that's going to be held next weekend in La Quinta in California will be contested also only this year in only two courses: the PGA West Stadium course, which is the host, and the Nicklaus Tournament course. Now, given the current climate in Riverside County caused by COVID-19, and considering national travel associated with the event, the tournament will be played with neither the traditional multi-day Pro-Am nor ticketed spectators. So that 3-day Pro-Am is expected to return in 2022. So, Fred, we heard that to deliver the tournament's scheduled charitable goals, they're going to have this exhibition that is going to be hosted, or at least hosted by Phil Mickelson, and will be featuring the American Express ambassadors Tony Finau and Paul Casey, alongside celebrity partners for a $1 million charity prize. And then they will be, each competitor will represent a different philanthropy, and their winnings will be donated. But it's not going to be the same. I mean, it's just not going to have the same feeling. You used to see 3 different courses, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then you got the final one on Sunday. But also, the Pro-Am, that's what made it nice and funny. And now we won't see that, and also the fans won't be there to watch. So we understand. I mean, California right now is a one hot spot and maybe the hub for the whole COVID-19 pandemic here in the States. But another tournament where COVID strikes again.
Yeah, for sure. And this goes clear back. It's the old Bob Hope tournament, and it was always a big deal. He had all these captains of industry, CEOs, entertainers, everybody coming together, sports figures coming together, playing in a pro am. You'd have one pro along with three amateurs or four amateurs for the week. They'd play three different golf courses. You have a tremendous big field, and then they cut down for Sunday. But yeah, it's unfortunate. It's again, it's a sign of the times. It's COVID. Kudos for him still having a tournament and having a $6.7 million purse. So at least some guys got some stuff, some money to play for, and we're gonna have golf on TV. That's about all we can hope for right now, Carlos.
Most definitely. But hey, it'll be back next year, and we keep positive that things are going to continue to improve as we go along this year. Now, Fred, the Tiger Woods HBO documentary titled Tiger is a two-part film which seeks to tell the story of Tiger Woods, the golfer, the son, the fallen man, and then his comeback. The Tiger documentary TV schedule shows two Sundays of premieres for the film, which is based on the 2018 book by Armand Catay and Jeff Benedict. Now, if you're seeking to relive Tiger's greatest moment, yeah, they'll be there, but isn't going to break any new ground on revealing the secrets of his success. But if you're looking, what it will do is, and quite well at times, it will give you a new insight into something we haven't seen well, and we really are hungry to find out is his psychological makeup, the many sacrifices he made to become a major champion 15 times over. What made him that type of world beater? The first of part of the two part series showcases his rise from child prodigy to amateur sensation to world beater. And Fred, there's compelling video never seen before. I can't wait to see the one where he's especially playing with his dad Errol and how he would prepare him to be so focused and be this amazing golfer that he became.
Yeah, Earl really did that at a very young age, started really, making sure that Tiger had that competitive edge built in. And, almost probably as a detriment, Earl probably overdid it. But that's what you have to have that deep desire to compete at the level that Tiger has competed on for so long. So for people that just can't get enough of seeing and watching anything about Tiger Woods, it's going to be a must see. I haven't seen part one yet. I'm gonna stream it. You can go on and stream it if you want to. But the part two also airs next. It comes on Sunday, but also airs on Tuesday. So and you can stream it if you just Google it. It'll come up. You can stream it if you want to. But yeah, I'm sure it's just a lot of rehash of most of the stuff that we already know. I mean, I followed Tiger since he was, on the Mike Douglas show. So, and he was just a little kid then. So what, 5 years old or something. So, I pretty much know everything and what's going on. So I don't know that anything would surprise me, but I'll probably try and catch some of it, Carlos, and I'm sure there'll be something in there that will be new and interesting. I wasn't a fan of the book when it came out, and a couple of things that have come out. I don't really like the negative stuff. I've seen what I need to see. I have a pretty good feeling of what Tiger's like. I've been around him enough to see what he's done and how he carries himself and what he does. And although I may not like the way he was before, I do respect what he did and what he accomplished and how he felt he had to be to do that. So I get that. And to see him now as a father, gone through the stuff he's gone through, and now has become more of a complete person, that's really all I need to see.
Most definitely. I think the main ingredient there is that psychological makeup from him. which is the things that we haven't seen. A little bit more into his how Earl instructed in him how to become that champion, that fearless, that person that instilled fear into every other competitor. That's what I really want to know more about. But anyway, you can watch it on demand. It was yesterday and on the 18th if you miss it. Now, Fred, let's talk about. We've been talking a lot about social media and the outrage and all this stuff. And I'm going to share something with the audience here. I hope you can see it right now. And it's an infographic, okay, about golf's biggest events. And this has created an outrage. If you see there, when you talk about golf biggest events, uh, and why it has created an outrage, because there's no other events other than men's events. Okay, so where are the women's majors?
Well, the Olympics has the
Where
women's in it.
that's the only part, but it just says Summer Olympics. So if you want to say, okay, it's golf Summer Olympics, but if you see all the others, it's the Players in March, April Masters, the PGA Championship, the U.S. Open, the Olympics, the FedEx Cup playoffs, which is only one day. It's going to be August 19th, just one day. It's interesting, right? And September 24th to the 26th is going to be the Ryder Cup. There's no Solheim Cup. There's nothing else. So, of course, in these times, which is critical and very sensitive to everyone, that you have inclusion, there is like, why wasn't this name men's golf biggest events and all that stuff? Now, define what is biggest event. Is it the ones with the most audience? I think they're all there. Is it the ones with the most money? They're all there. Nah, I know. Yeah, before you start burning me in social media, define what biggest events are. Okay, because if you're talking about biggest events, money wise, audience wise, and all that stuff and reputation, then they're right there, Fred. I don't know. Uh, I understand. It's just a thing about inclusion and trying to be politically correct. But again, this goes back to the same thing that we have been talking about. Like, every it's a bit of a thing, anyone will feel offended by it, and then it'll be a big issue.
You're exactly right. Everybody's on social media. They're on Twitter. They're on Facebook, Instagram. You name it. They're out there, and they all think they need to have their voice heard and make a comment. Yeah, we talked about this equality thing with the women's game over and over and over. We just got done talking about Michael Whan, who has brought the women's game more than doubled and tripled the purses that's available to the women today. They're getting more exposure on TV than they've ever gotten, right? So it's an economics. You can't get $7 million purses if you're only bringing in $2 million of income. It doesn't work. I know the government tries to do that to try and spend $3 trillion when they only have like $1 trillion, and they print their own money. They can get away with it. But when you're in business, you just can't do that. So the women's tour is growing. It's becoming a better and better and better product. But the bottom line is that people want to watch men's sports. They don't watch women's football. They don't watch women's soccer. They don't watch, they do watch women's tennis. Tennis is kind of almost on an even par with men's tennis. But women's basketball has struggled to find a niche, but the NBA, is doing very well. NFL doing very well. NHL doing very well. These are all men's sports, and so they can get the sponsors, they can draw the fans, they can get the big money. I don't know why anybody wants to make a big deal about that graphic that comes up, but right now, the only real major things for the women is the Solheim Cup. That's the biggest deal. That gets everybody's attention. Even casual fans who really aren't golf fans, they will pay attention to the Solheim Cup. Not the U.S. Women's Open, not the Women's Open Championship, not the Evian, not, maybe a little bit more the old Dinah Shore, the ANA. That seems to get a big viewership because it's the first major of the year, I think, more than anything else. But yeah, I don't know. I'm like you. I think it's just people want to get on social media and have something to talk about, and that was something they could do.
Most definitely. And before you start burning us to the cross on social media, listen to all our programs, okay? Because if there have been any bigger defenders of the female and ladies game anywhere, it has to be us, okay? It has to be us. We have gone on record. Now, I know I have gone on record. My favorite tour is the LPGA. It is. And I would watch it anytime. But I have to admit that right now, and unfortunately and unfair as it is, they don't get the same recognition. They should get it. They have an amazing product. Unfortunately, it's not as recognized as the men's game. So that's why the biggest, define it to me before you start criticizing. What is golf's biggest events to you? Okay. And we are very supportive of the females games and their equality. If not, just go ahead and watch our programs before you start crossing us to the burning cross. Okay. So anyway, Fred, let's move on and let's talk now because apparently, according to Trent Carter from NLU, sources have told him that there is a new deal in place that will relocate the WGC Mexico. In 2021, the WGC will be in Florida, most likely the Naples area, somewhere there. After that, the tournament will move international in accordance to the new Euro Tour Strategic Alliance. TPC Chapultepec is a fantastic venue there in Mexico. And it's a shame that the guys won't be teeing it up there anymore. I mean, the fans were great, atmosphere was electric, and the field was always stacked. But first, there's no news yet to what course it will be at this year at FLA. But I think I have a pretty good idea where it won't be.
Don't think it's going to be a Trump Doral. No, we don't. That's all we know so far. What you just said, we just know that it's going to move from Mexico to Florida, but we don't know where it's going to be yet. I haven't heard anything on it, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a Trump Doral.
Definitely won't be there, but we'll keep you posted as soon as we know where it's going to be. And with that, we get off the course. And now tell us a little bit about Boyne Resorts.
Well, Carlos, as you know, I'm up here in Michigan tonight. We've still got about 10 inches of snow on the ground. Up at Boyne, the golf courses are all covered with snow, but they are offering some early pricing on stay and play golf packages for the 2021 season. Just go to their website, boyne.com/golf. Check those out. There's about 3 or 4 different packages. Really great early pricing. It's already mid-January. Golf season will be here before you know it. It's one of the best resorts in the country, 10 golf courses, 3 locations, the best service that can be found, fantastic food, a lot of different dining options up there. One of my favorite places to go anywhere. I try and get up there once or twice every summer. Can't wait to get back up there again and see what's going on. They're going to do a big renovation to the hotel at the Highlands. It's going to be a world-class deal. I think they were going to start that sometime later in 2021. But it's all just fantastic up there, Carlos. Boyne, BOYNE.com/golf. Check it out.
And now we'll be on our segment for the interview of the week. Our very important guest, our VIG, very important guest of the week. His name is Brian Weis, who is the owner of golftrips.com, and he's the expert in golf resorts and destinations and travel. He's been all over the world, and he's in constant contact with resort operators around the globe. He will be talking with Fred about the current state in golf, not only in the U.S., but abroad as well.
I want to welcome Brian Weis, a fellow golfaholic, to Back Nine Report. He might be the only person I know that loves to play golf more than me. He would play 36 every day if he could. Seriously, we have been on golf trips where I wanted to go back to the room, take a nap before dinner, and he made me play another 9. On top of all that, he's a travel expert, travels all around the globe to bring golf travel information to the everyday golfer who is looking for the best golf packages and experience through his website, golftrips.com. Brian, welcome to Back Nine Report.
Hey, thanks. I'm not sure what you're doing after this, but hopefully you can get together and play an additional emergency nine.
We're going to go out on the lake and play a little ice golf, maybe around the shanties.
It is very cold here in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Well, I'm in northern Michigan, so we're not better off. It looks like a little village out here on the lake across the street from the house. All the ice fisher guys that are out there getting away from their wives and drinking beer out there. It's a big party every day. Hey, Brian, we are really happy to have you with us today to learn a little bit more about the current state of golf travel. I know you've been traveling around a little bit. You've been doing some flying. So tell us a little bit about what you've seen, where you've been, and what's going on.
Sure. Well, first off, when the lockdowns or COVID hit initially and sports ended, I was actually in Las Vegas and got to see Vegas, the day the music died to some extent. And, it was kind of a scary moment, there. They weren't sure if air travel was going to happen. And certainly things went dark for the next, 2 to 3 months. Come end of summer, I started opening up and traveling a little bit, a lot of day travel trips or at least drive type, mini vacations or golf travel. So I got to, get to your neck of the woods in Boyne, Grand Rapids area, as well as, upper Michigan. As fall kind of came in, I ventured out and did some, flight travel. Part of that was we traveled to California and did Yosemite for my son's high school graduation trip or vacation. He had kind of a rough end to his senior year with no track season, and we decided to, travel out to Yosemite. Later in fall, I did travel to Pinehurst, North Carolina. Also to Jacksonville and Orlando. And then over the holidays, I was in Sedona, Arizona. So maybe to answer your question, I did take 3 airline travel trips, and Southwest, at least through the fall, guaranteed no middle seat. So there was some inherent social distancing that naturally happened. Over the holiday break in December, they were not guaranteeing that, but the flight was relatively sparse in traveling out and the way back.
Have you felt safe? Have you had any concerns, whether around the airport or around the resorts themselves?
Sure. Well, the Milwaukee airport, the garage structures and parking, it looks like a ghost town. I think they have everybody parking on 1.5 floors. So I guess from a capacity standpoint, they're probably at 25% if I had to hazard a guess on what, traffic was when walking through there. Most of the restaurants and side stands and things were closed. So from a safe standpoint, I guess it wasn't shoulder to shoulder bumping into people like in maybe a normal holiday season or a travel fall golf season, where it was, jam-packed airports, jam-packed buses to get to your rental car lot or what have you. So from that standpoint, I also heard that the air filters on airplanes were changed out. I know when I travel pre-pandemic, every time I traveled, I always seemed like I had a little runny nose or a little something after, being on an airplane for several hours. This past 2 times that I traveled, it's probably the healthiest I felt afterwards. I'm not sure if that's because of the lack of flyers that were on the airplane or if it was indeed about the improved air quality inside the plane.
You, in the travel you've been doing, like I went down to French Lick for a couple of days, and they had stations all through the resort. You had to, every day you had to get a wristband that you had been, you had your temperature taken and you had kind of been checked. And then as you went through the resort, they would check that as you enter different areas of the hotel or the casino to make sure that you had been checked. Were you seeing that at other places?
Yeah. So speaking of casinos, in fall, I did return back to Las Vegas and did a Vegas Mesquite trip. Our temperatures were taken at numerous resorts and casinos. We primarily stayed at two places, both being casinos, and they did take our temperatures with some type of infrared camera. So that has been, probably the most I was, observed from a, temperature standpoint. Certainly everywhere you go, masks are required, whether it's a casino or restaurant or, the hotel. So if, masks help prevent in the, the spread, I guess I felt safe from that standpoint. Most of the hotels and the pro shops, have limited options in terms of dining, whether they've closed tables down or spaced tables appropriately. Many of the hotel or resorts extracurricular activities were closed down, like the ice cream, small shop. They had takeout for food in some examples. Some in dining did happen at a few places that I traveled to, but once again, masks were required until you were eating, and there was social distancing in terms of the distance for tables.
We're planning on traveling to Florida here in a couple weeks, and we just found out that the place we were booked into was actually closed, and they didn't notify us or anything. We just happened to see it on the website. So we had to arrange to stay at a sister location, but we would have arrived and they would have been closed. They wouldn't have had anything for us if we would have called ahead. So I would advise people, if you're considering any travel, to call ahead at least 2 weeks in advance. Make sure that everything's open, you have dining capability, and that they're going to have a room for you. And then monitor that daily, because I wouldn't be surprised maybe with some of the numbers that some other things may be closing down the road. What do you think?
Sure. Well, when I traveled over the holidays, so we were out in Sedona, and we did exactly what you recommended. We called the resort ahead of time to find out, was there anything that we needed to know before we got there? What was the check-in process? Were they allowing, guests, or how many guests into the hotel in the lobby area? They did, let us know that some of the food was, that some of the restaurants were closed, but you could get takeout, and they made, recommendations for other hotels. Right now, my neighbors in Mexico, international travel, it seems if you are going to warm weather, whether it's the, Caribbean or Mexico, there seems to be more travel open there. I believe earlier this week, or the week before rather, the Prime Minister of the UK had closed travel, as well as, severe lockdowns throughout England, Scotland, and Ireland. So those who are, looking to travel abroad and, play in Europe, at least through the end of March or mid-March, things are closed. And when I talked to a golf packager, just about the state of the state there, they pretty much have written off the first half of, 2021. They're looking at, moving some of the packages in fall if things can improve, or the vaccine gets released, or infections, or the death toll, levels out or improves. I'm not sure what the Prime Minister or some of the, international leaders are looking at. And they said that it's getting pretty close where they may just scrap 2021 altogether and start looking for bookings into 2022. Wow.
So you mentioned earlier you did some driving trips, and that's pretty much all I did. I haven't been on an airplane now, really, I think since 2019, I think was the last time. I'm not really anticipating getting on an airplane. I'm not sure, so driving trips have become a big thing, but you're in Wisconsin, we're in Michigan and Ohio. We can easily go to Georgia. We can easily go to the Carolinas. We can easily go to Florida. Even Texas is not that bad. And there's great golf opportunities in all those locations, right? Louisiana as well, Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, having driven to spring break to, Alabama Gulf Shores and the northern parts of Florida, you're within 20 some hours, which seems like, a long time to drive. But I guess to get away from knee deep snow and frigid frozen tundra, it's a pretty easy drive.
Brian, other than what we've talked about, do you have any other tips to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I would say, certainly some people would think travel during this time is risky. Assess your risks. Your health conditions or your age or your level of risk. To be smart. If you need that break or you feel comfortable traveling or maybe a little hesitant on traveling, certainly you control your environment and your vehicle. I know this past summer when I talked to a lot of advertisers and golf resorts, they kind of pivoted and focused on a 5-hour drive time. So as if you're a golf trip leader and you're starting to look for that spring travel or spring vacation, or maybe you're going to reschedule something, either look to push that trip into fall or push it into fall and try to find a travel destination that you can reach by car. I think that eliminates the airport, eliminates an airplane. You have a condition you feel very comfortable with, and that being your vehicle. Once again, I would always have, what are your food options for travel? Either bring food. I know a lot of resorts started making your own food or having grills. So maybe you bring in your own steaks and your own coolers full of, meat and beer and potato chips and nuts or whatever it might be. And, I think I'm excited about putting this pandemic in our rearview mirror so we can play a lot of golf in either 2021 or 2022.
Well, keep it in mind, we want to get you to Toledo for the Earth Heroes Golf Trail. We got to get you over for that. And that's a lot of fun. We'll enjoy that. We'll do a little cooking out or something. We'll do something for you. No
Sure.
problem. I won't let you start. Hey, we've been talking with Brian Weis from golftrips.com. If you're looking to travel, you're looking for resorts, golf destinations, he's got them all at his website. He's got some good packages for you. If you've got any questions, get a hold of him. Brian Weis at golftrips.com. Brian, thanks again so much for coming and chatting with us today.
Hey, Fred, be safe, be warm, and we'll see you on the golf course.
Take care, man.
There you have it, Fred. I mean, that brings us to the expanded discussion that we have for you guys today. And it's, what is the future of golf travel? Brian talked about it as the expert that he is. The question about when it will come back. I think it's here. I think people are venturing more, even though there is a surge right now. But I think there's a sense of people starting to travel more. And you can see it because it happened in Thanksgiving. It happened during the Christmas break. Well, when the unfortunate thing happened that I lost my dad at the beginning of December, I had to travel to Pennsylvania. And it's not the same as having everybody, the normal Phil's airport. But you get the feeling that what they're doing is really something safe. Now it's up to you, like Brian was saying, your environment, you can control it to somehow your own environment. You can't control anybody else, but at least you can control yourself, keep yourself safe, get your hand sanitizer and all that. But also when you see, and we started talking during the pandemic and the lockdown about what the golf courses were doing as well, by keeping you safe and making you feel better. So what you think about what he was saying and what you have seen, because I know that you are going to be going to Florida pretty soon, how you feel about flying, driving, the safety precautions out there, maybe going out, having a meal, dining. We know that every state has a different restrictions, Not everyone is affected the same, and what you feel about the vaccine that it's already with the 1A starting. Where do you see all this going?
Number one, we're still in Michigan. Restaurants are closed. You cannot go inside and sit down in a restaurant. Everything is takeout or curbside. Number two, in Ohio, I have no problem going in and sit down in a restaurant. They're maintaining distancing and all that kind of stuff, so I have no problem going in. Number three, if you are traveling, getting a room may be an issue because there are people traveling and they're not allowing hotels full occupancy. They're only limiting maybe, I don't know, maybe 50% at the maximum. So there's not as many rooms available. Just like I said, in the Orlando area, the Disney World and Universal are open back up. So there are people going down there, although like the convention center, all the conventions that are in Orlando are not happening. There's still a lot of people traveling down there, and there are some resorts that have closed down. And so it's put stress on some of the others that are still open. So you have to make sure that you have a room when you're going to go someplace. Jumping on an airplane, I'm still not comfortable really doing that just yet, just because you're going to be in close proximity to somebody. And even though I go out to the store or whatever here, I stay away from people. I just don't get very close. And so on an airplane, that's not going to be really possible. So I'm still not comfortable doing that. And so we will drive to Florida. We're scheduled to go to Sedona in March. Whether we fly there or not, we're not sure yet. We're thinking about driving out there. I'm not sure. So we'll see. And then the final thing I wanted to say about golf is that, as we've reported so many times through the summer, golf rounds are up dramatically, and golf courses are full because even people that aren't traveling, they still want to play. So they're playing their local golf courses more. The money they're spending maybe to travel, they're spending on a high-end golf course, like a TPC at Jacksonville, at Sawgrass. So Brian was telling me a story that he and a friend went to Jacksonville, and he called ahead, which for people in our business, we call up and say, hey, we're coming in. Would you like us to stop by the course? And most of the time, those are comp rounds. And you know, they give us a tee time and all that kind of thing. Well, he said, you know, he was going to go to TPC Sawgrass, and they basically had a full tee sheet. He said, you know, we really don't have the inventory that we can spare a round. And he said, well, how many times do you have open? They said they had 2 open tee times. And so he said, you know what, we'll take one. And so he paid full boat just because he wanted to play a TPC Sawgrass, and it's like a $350 round, which normally that would not be an issue for somebody like Brian in the business. That would be a comp rate. But so these golf courses are getting a lot of play. So you've got to make sure that you've got your tee times in line, you know, probably 2-3 weeks in advance, maybe, because they are running at high capacity. So that's my thoughts on golf travel, Carlos, right there to kind of wrap this up.
Yeah, I think it's still not yet fully embraced, but like you're saying, everybody's playing local, and the rounds are going up. But I certainly feel that this is just coming full circle pretty soon. We're hitting that limit, and I am very positive about the vaccine and people starting to feel more comfortable going out. So hopefully this is going to be behind us after some maybe the mid part of the year. Everything will start to be climbing back up to some sense of normality. But now let's go and do some forecalls. Okay, we're going to give you a preview of this weekend's action, and we only have one tournament. It's the Sony Open. It's going to be played at the YLA Country Club in Honolulu, Hawaii, which has been the host of the tournament every year since 1965. Cameron Smith won last year's tournament at 11 under after being overpowered through his first 2 holes for his first individual PGA Tour title. He's trying to become the first player to successfully defend the title at the Sony Open. Jimmy Walker did it in 2014, 2015. there's going to be a 144 player field featuring 10 of the top 25 players in the official World Golf rankings, including 32 of the 42 players who teed off at last week's Century Tournament of Champion. Fred, my eyes are going to be, of course, on Takumi Kanaya, who turned pro last year. And since he has won in the Japan Tour, watch out. He's playing on a sponsor's exemption. Now watch out, that kid. He's going to be really good. Also, look for former Hawaii State champion Evan Kawai, who will be making his PGA Tour debut after winning a qualifying in November, Fred.
Yeah, this is normally, a lot of times it's like a super Corn Ferry Tour event. A lot of lower ranked guys are in the field. Doesn't draw a real strong field. But I knew when I saw that Takumi Kanaya was going to be there, I knew you'd be all over that because I know he's one of the guys that you're watching. He's already won twice in Japan as a pro. He had 4 straight top 7 finishes. One of those a win closing out the year in Japan. So he looks like he might be the real deal. Of course, he was the number 1 ranked amateur when he did turn professional. So I knew you'd be all over that when you saw that. So Sony Open, Hawaii, what's not to like? We'll be watching.
Well, definitely will be watching. And Fred, I can't wait to see when everything starts to get back to the full, throttle here, talking about all the different tours, at least for now it's the PGA Tour. Can't wait to see what's going to be and closing for Michael Whan, his last year here on the LPGA. And hey, let's see some football this weekend as well.
Go Browns.
We'll see. How about if they beat Patrick Mahomes and the defending champions?
That'd be like winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, after that, don't worry. You can lose after. And don't worry about it.
I'm a happy man. I've seen it all.
Yeah. So how about what are you looking for this week?
Well, yeah, I got to watch the Browns. Going to root for them against Kansas City. Watch a little bit of Sony Open. We're going to be doing a little bit of driving around, maybe try and catch the grandson's football tournament playoff game if they'll let us in. They only live out so many tickets, so hopefully we'll be able to get into that. Also, want to say that the Ohio Golf Journal, we came out on Monday this week because the second Wednesday was so late in the month. So we came out a couple days early. Got some great stories in there. Got a story about a guy. Saw this article, and so I used it. Talking about he kind of wishes he'd done things a little bit differently when he was younger playing golf. And you see people take the game too seriously and not a lot of fun on the golf course. He was one of those guys, and now he's older and can't play anymore. He wishes he could just play. And so enjoy the time on the golf course. But a lot of great stories in there, a lot of good stuff, a lot of travel information. And January, Ohio Golf Journal, January, Michigan Golf Journal, both out. Also find more on Back Nine Report TV on Roku and on YouTube, Carlos.
All right, Back Niners, that will wrap up another week of the Back Nine Report. Thank you for joining us. It's always our pleasure to bring you the latest in the world of golf. Special thanks to our VIG, very important guest of the week, Brian Weis, who is the owner of golftrips.com, and he's the expert in golf, resorts, destination, and travel. Don't forget to see us again next week here on YouTube. If you miss it, you can check the audio version on TuneIn. And if you haven't done so, what are you waiting for? Follow the show on Twitter. Our ID is at Back9Report with the number 9 in the middle. My name is Carlos Torres, along with Fred Altvater. We wish you to be happy, be blessed, and enjoy the great game of golf. Happy golfing, everybody.
Hope I see you on the Back Nine down in Florida in a couple weeks.